Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this session, I'll be continuing with our previous topic, that is posterior palatal seal. So in our previous video, we have discussed about the definition, the functions, classification, the anatomic and physiological considerations, the classification of soft palate, etc. So in this session, I'll be discussing the techniques that are used to mark the posterior palatal seal. That is basically 4 techniques: the conventional technique, fluid wax technique, arbitrary scraping of the master cast, and extended palatal technique, and troubleshooting the errors that we face while recording the posterior palatal seal, that is under and over extension and under and over post damming, and also how to correct a danger when you have recorded improper posterior palatal seal. The first technique that we are discussing is the conventional technique, which was suggested by Mark B. Applebaum. This technique is done once the secondary impression is recorded and the master cast is poured. So basically what we are doing in this technique is we are marking the hamellar notch, anterior posterior vibrating lines intraorally, and we are transferring it into a trial denture base, and from there to the master cast, and the posterior palatal seal recorded in the master cast, we are doing the scraping of the master cast and fabricating the denture over it. So as you can see the first picture, the hamellar notch is being identified using a T-burnisher. There is a correction in this picture. Here the ball ended should be placing towards the buccal side. So once the hamellar notch is located, we are marking it with an indelible pencil. The method that is used to locate the hamellar notch, the instrument, everything we have discussed in our previous session. So if you have not watched it, please do watch it through the link that is given in the description box below this video. So after locating the hamellar notch, we mark the posterior vibrating line by asking the patient to say "ah" in unexaggerated manner, and again that is also marked with an indelible pencil, and finally we join the hamellar notch with the posterior vibrating line. So we get this. Once this marking is done, we transfer it into a trial denture base. So we place the denture base into the patient's mouth, and this marking is transferred over here. Now in a similar manner, we mark the anterior vibrating line also, that is by asking the patient to say "ah" in short vigorous burst. So finally we get the anterior posterior vibrating line on the master cast. So once we get the anterior and posterior vibrating line on the master cast, using Kingsley scraper, we scrape off that particular area, that is the PPS, posterior palatal seal area. So there are certain recommended width and depth that you have to scrape. So it is said that in the area that is lateral to the mid-palatine raphe, the scraping should be done 1 to 1.5 millimeter. Whereas in the mid-palatine raphe region, scraping should be only 0.5 to 1 mm. Why? Because the submucosa on the mid-palatine raphe is very thin and it cannot face the same compressibility forces as that of the lateral side. So the scraping must be much lesser than that of the lateral side. So once the scraping of the master cast is done, we adapt our trial denture base according to that master cast. So this trial denture base can be made using a shellac or self-cure acrylic resin. If it is made up of shellac, you just can reheat it and adapt it like in the picture. If it is a self-cure acrylic resin, you have to paint the master cast used in cold mold seal or separating medium, and then add the self-cure resin over that. Now once this trial denture base have been modified, we have to see how it works in the patient's mouth. So we have to place this into the patient's mouth, and then using a mouth mirror, visualize the distal end. Ask the patient to say "ah" in unexaggerated manner and see for the space that is present between the denture base and the tissues. If there is a space, that means that you have not recorded the posterior palatal seal up to the appropriate depth. This we will have to redo the procedure. Coming to the advantages of conventional technique, first one is that the trial denture base will be more retentive. So this will help in the future steps of jaw relation and try-in appointments. Then this provides a psychological security for the patient, because patient knows how much retentive his denture is, and that too at such an early stage. Even the practitioner will be able to determine the retentive qualities of the denture he is going to fabricate. And the patient himself knows the posterior extent of this denture, so that will help in adjusting to the new denture post insertion. So these are the advantages of conventional technique. The disadvantages is it is technique sensitive. So it is totally a non-physiologic technique. We are arbitrarily scraping the master cast. So there is chance of over compression. The tissue, there is chance of over scraping that will result in over compression of the tissues. Now coming to the next technique, that is fluid wax technique. So in conventional technique, we said that it was done after pouring the master cast, whereas fluid wax technique is done before pouring the master cast. That is, we are recording the vibrating lines and ampulla notch onto the wash impression or the secondary impression. So these are the armamentarium that we uses in the first picture, and then similar to that of the conventional technique, we are locating the ampulla notch, anterior posterior vibrating line, and then we have marked it on the secondary impression. And be careful that we have to place the patient in this 30-degree forward position. The reason for this we have discussed in our previous video. Now once the posterior anterior vibrating lines are marked, we have got the PPS in our secondary impression. Now what we are going to do is we are adding fluid wax on this secondary impression. So there are 4 types of wax that we can use: Iowa wax, Correcta wax, HL physiologic paste, and Adaptol wax. This can be a viva question, which are the mouth temperature waxes that we can use in fluid wax technique. So these wax should adhere properly to our secondary impression. So it is always best to choose zinc oxide eugenol or impression plaster to make your secondary impression. If we are doing it with the elastomeric impression material, our secondary impression will be slightly resilient. So when you place the fluid wax and place it in the patient's mouth with pressure, there is chance that it will distort the relationship between the wax as well as the impression surface. So always choose zinc oxide eugenol or impression plaster, as they will become rigid once they are set. So you have to place the fluid wax into the secondary impression, insert it into the patient's mouth and keep it for 4 to 6 minutes. And the pressure applied is 3 to 5 minutes gentle pressure followed by 2 to 3 minutes firm pressure in the mid-palatine region. So once properly recorded, remove the secondary impression and make sure that anterior and posterior vibrating line should have feather edge. It should properly merge with the remaining area. This you have to take care during conventional technique also. So if the wax has extended beyond the vibrating line, or if it has extended further posteriorly, you can remove it using a hot scalpel. Another important thing you have to remember is, once you record the posterior palatal seal and remove it from the patient's mouth, check for the proper tissue contact. So in contrast to the green stick compound, in fluid wax, wherever there is glossy area, that means there is tissue contact, and wherever there are dull areas, that means tissue has not contacted there. So wherever there are dull areas, you have to reapply the fluid wax and do the procedure again. So the advantages of fluid wax is that it is physiologic technique. It displaces the tissues within their physiologically acceptable limits, and also there is no chance of over compression of the tissues. Even mechanical scraping of the cast is also avoided, and posterior palatal seal is incorporated in the trial denture base for added retention in the further steps. You can remember these advantages as they are compensating the disadvantages of your previous technique. So whatever disadvantages was there in conventional technique, they have compensated it in the fluid wax. Coming to the disadvantages, more time is necessary during the impression appointment. We need more chairside time. We have to manipulate the fluid wax and record the PPS properly. So there is more chairside time that is needed, and also there is difficulty in handling the material, the fluid wax. And also there is a chance that it gets disrupted during our boxing procedure. So that too we have to take care. So these two are the disadvantages of fluid wax technique. Now coming to the third technique, arbitrary scraping of the master cast. This is the least accurate technique and unphysiologic of all the technique. We have already told that there is chances of over scraping. So here it relies on the ability of the dentist and his idea how much the posterior palatal seal area and compressibility of tissue was there, and based on his advice the technician does this arbitrary scraping. So there are several techniques under the arbitrary scraping of the master cast. If you want in detail, I can make a video separate on these techniques. If you want, please do write it in the comment section. Now coming to the maximum recommended width and depth for the average PPS. So there is least width and depth in the hamular notch area. This is because the tissue is thin, and so we cannot give more compressive forces in this region. So 0.25 mm of width and 0.5 mm of depth in the hamular notch area, whereas lateral to the mid palatine, where there is maximum width of the posterior palatal seal, you can give a width of 6 mm and a depth of 2 mm. In the mid palatine region, 4 mm of width and 1 mm of depth is accepted. Coming to the final technique, that is extended palatal technique. It was suggested by Silverman. So according to him, in patients with class 1 soft palate, class 1 soft palate means the soft palate is almost in a horizontal relationship with the hard palate, most ideal for retention. The classification of soft palate we have discussed in our previous session. So in extended palatal technique, Silverman said that posterior border can be extended by 8 mm in cases where there is class 1 soft palate. But this technique is not having any justification, and so it is not accepted now. Now coming to troubleshooting the errors that we do while recording the PPS, there are 4 errors that we can encounter. One is under extension, over extension, under post damming, and over post damming. So coming to the first and the most common reason for failure of retention in complete denture, that is under extension. So these are the reasons when we do under extension. The first one is using of fovea palatini as the landmark for posterior border. So fovea palatini, when they are using as a landmark for posterior border, there is much more space behind which we are avoiding. So the retention will be compromised. The next reason is those patients who are having gagging. So these patients will inform the dentist that they are having gagging prior to the impression, and so the dentist will be cautious to minimize the posterior extent as much as possible. In this attempt, he will do under extension of the posterior palatal seal or posterior border of the denture that will minimize the retention. In such cases, there are many methods in which you can compensate for this situation. That is, ask the patient to concentrate on a particular point on the floor or the wall and ask him to breathe evenly. This will help during impression procedures. Or else you can make a well polished denture base on the master cast and then ask the patient to wear it in the comfort of his home, and that will help the patient to adjust to the denture. The next reason for under extension is the failure of the dentist to carefully examine the vibrating lines. Proper visualization will avoid this error. Then the laboratory technician is asked to trim and polish, as we have seen in mechanical scraping of the master cast. He will scrape according to his dexterity, and that can result in under extension of the posterior border. So coming to overextension, overextension usually results in an attempt to maximize the retentive qualities. The practitioner will try to maximize the retention of his complete denture, thereby resulting in overextending the posterior border. And this will result in over-compression of the tissues. Even the patient will have difficulty in swallowing. Post-insertion, he will come on the 3rd or 4th day complaining that there is difficulty in swallowing. So overextension may be the reason. And also when the posterior border covers the hamular notch, it will cause interference to the pterygoid hamulus. All these will result in sharp pain and discomfort. Also there is chance for ulceration because of the much more compressive forces that is occurring on the tissues. So the remedy is you have to identify that particular area and border and selective reduce. Coming to the next error, that is under post damming. That means you have not recorded the posterior palatal seal in its proper depth. This occurs in conventional as well as fluid wax technique, and also it happens when you record the tissues keeping the patient's mouth wide open. In such situation, what happens is that the pterygomandibular fold will be taut, or it will be stretched too much. So when it comes to its normal position, there will be a space that is present between the denture and the tissues. So that has to be taken care. And this underpost damming can be diagnosed by placing a wet denture base into the patient's mouth. So once you place it, just place a mouth mirror at the posterior border and see for any air bubbles that is escaping. If there is air bubble, that means that there is minute spaces that is present. So you have to correct it. In over post damming, due to the over scraping of the master cast, there is increased depth of posterior palatal seal. So that will result in tissue irritation, and the remedy is selective reduction. Now coming to adding the posterior palatal seal to an existing denture. So there are different techniques in order to add a posterior palatal seal to an existing denture. Prior to adding a posterior palatal seal, the practitioner should carefully evaluate the processes. The phonetic requirements, the aesthetic requirements, all should be properly fulfilled, and also it should have proper occlusion. Once all the criteria are met and only there is lack of posterior palatal seal, then you can go on with this technique. So here I am discussing the Moghadam and Scrandet technique. They have utilized fluid wax technique in this. So what they have done is, it is similar to that of our fluid wax technique, only that they are applying the fluid wax onto the fabricated denture. So once they have applied the fluid wax onto the denture, they have placed it in the patient's mouth and recorded the posterior palatal seal again properly, and after that they have made a stone cast out of this area using this customized denture. And once a stone cast is used, then they separate the cast from the denture and then remove the fluid wax, place the denture on the cast and fix it with a rubber band, and the space that is present between the denture and the cast, they have filled with autopolymerizing acrylic powder, and then they have placed it in a pressure pot with water at 140 degree Fahrenheit for 20 minutes under 30 psi pressure. Thus, the posterior palatal seal, which was inadequate, has been fulfilled. So that technique was done extraorally. So when we are doing intraorally, we cannot use self-cure resin because it is highly exothermic in its reaction and can cause tissue irritation. So light cure resin is best if we are doing this correction intraorally. The advantages are, there is no exothermic reaction to irritate the oral cavity. There is minimum of volumetric shrinkage that is happening, and it also approximates a physiologic technique. It is almost a physiologic technique. It can be performed with relatively little chairside time. The only disadvantage is the cost of the curing. Thus we can conclude this session. Posterior palatal seal area plays a crucial role in retention, and the determination and identification of posterior palatal seal is the responsibility of the dentist and not the duty of a laboratory technician. And if you have recorded posterior palatal seal properly, they will enhance the stability and retention of the interocclusal record and further trial appointments. So if you are attending a 20 marker question of posterior palatal seal, always it is good to conclude your answer with these important points. So these are the references from which I have made this. These are some of the articles which are based on adding the posterior palatal seal to an existing denture. If you need any of the article in detail, please do message me in the comment section. Thus we have come to an end of this session. Thank you everyone for watching my video. Please do like, share it among your friends and subscribe if you are finding this video useful. If you have any doubts, please do message in the comment section, or you can mail me at this mail ID. If you want any specific topic that has to be discussed, do write it in the comment section. We'll see you in our next video. Thank you.